Hello, welcome again to Benchwarmers, joined this week by United States Senator John Thune. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Tom. How are you?
Very
good
good
to see you, as always.
How's Katie Lingo? We need to thank her for kind of setting this thing up.
Katie's a rock star. You all know that. She does a great job for us.
Works in your office now from Pierre. Played
does.
Basketball at South Dakota State, was with us here for a short time. And
big star for the Jacks, and still a die-hard, passionate Jacks fan.
All right, so. That's good to hear. All right, Congress, you're hard.
You, I know.
Yeah, I still am, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're obviously busy. July is full with the session in Congress, but how do you get home most weekends to South Dakota, or how often?
Yeah,
do you get
most
back?
weekends. I mean, I tell people that for the most part, whenever Congress is in session, I'm in Washington, D.C., and when we're not in session, I'm typically back in South Dakota. Occasionally I have to travel outside the state, but no, if I can, I'm going to be here, especially this time of the year.
Yeah, you got around a lot on the 4th of July week. I know you were in Lenox. You hit quite a few towns when you were back then, right?
We did, yeah. I mean, that week, Congress was out of session the week of the 4th, and so I had both mine and my wife's 40-year high school reunion.
I was going to say,
so those were interesting. But yeah, I think I hit about 16 communities just getting around that week, and it's a good opportunity for me to get on the ground out here, hear what's on the hearts and minds of people across South Dakota. Towns both big and small.
Jones County High School is still thriving in Myrtle, South Dakota.
Well,
right?
you know, we were the first, believe it or not, 40 years now, Jones County high school graduating class. It was Murdo and Draper, and that was the first consolidated class. So we had the biggest class in the history of the school, 41 students. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. 40 years. Yeah, I hear you.
It goes fast. Yeah, the big
really
wheel
does.
keeps on turning. So. Yeah.
All right. Your job, some of the other duties, aside from the huge issues that you deal with, are things like helping people with smaller things that are big to them. We've been working on a story with a triathlete from South Dakota. She's from Rapid City. She's out in Colorado training for the Olympics, and she was going to go to China. And about 2 days before that, her passport was stolen, along with her bike and everything else. But she said that you helped her expedite the process to get another passport and get her to this competition in China. You get a lot of stories like that, I think, don't you?
You know, it's interesting. In her case, it was sort of really, it was a sad because it was a theft. You know, they stole basically all her driver's license, her debit card, her passport, her visa, everything, and then, of course, her bike. And so, but yeah, I mean, the family contacted our office. We have a young guy in Rapid City named Wes Roth, who went to work on this and was able to help get those things replaced in short order. But you do hear those, and it's kind of funny. You know, I mean, if you think about all the people from South Dakota that travel abroad, you know, over the years, we've had Augustana students stuck in Egypt, in Cairo, that we had to help get home. We had a group of folks that had their passports stolen in Rome, a bunch of young kids who were traveling over there. And so, yeah, we get called upon in circumstances like that to help out, and obviously we want to do everything we can to assist. Yeah,
those have to be things that you can get done outside of the political arena that really do help.
They are,
out, right?
and honestly, Tom, I mean, for me, you know, the stuff that we work on in Washington, the policy is all, it's great stuff and it's interesting, but the things that are, I would say, the most fulfilling about my job is the opportunity that you have on occasions like that to help people solve a problem. And you know, we've had a lot of young families in South Dakota that want to adopt children from other parts of the world. Yeah. And not only are you fighting the foreign government, sometimes unfortunately, you're fighting the bureaucracy in our own government. And so we have people who can help intervene, and we've done a lot of that sort of thing. And so those are the types of things that really where you feel like you're making a difference.
Yeah, right on. All right, speaking of policy though, your love of sports and basketball and physical fitness is well known, I think, to the people of South Dakota. And you have a bill going through Congress right now. It's called the PHIT Act, PHIT.
Yeah.
What does that stand for, and what, in essence, is this bill?
Well, the PHIT is an acronym. Everything in Washington's got to have an acronym, but it's the Personal Health Investment Today Act. So, and basically what it does is allows people who have FSAs or HSAs, federal flexible spending accounts or health savings accounts, which are tax-free dollars that they put aside for medical expenses, to use those for fitness. So if you want to join a gym, for example, if you have a kid who wants to join a league or participate in a sport and there are fees associated with that, or they need equipment associated with that, If you want to get a piece of equipment, say for example, a stationary bike or a treadmill or something like that, you can use those flexible spending account or health savings account dollars to do that. So tax-free dollars that you can use to find ways to improve your own personal health and fitness, which of course those lead to less interventionist type things down the road. You want to avoid the emergency room and the operating room, and if you can spend more time in the weight room, I think you can do that. So it's just to encourage a healthy lifestyle and preventive in terms of health care costs that you might experience down the road.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here. More details on the PHIT. You've touched on some of the details of it, but a little bit more about that. We're going to talk some college basketball and some high school basketball as well coming up with U.S. Senator John Thune, but some other big-name athletes that are helping with this PHIT Act. We'll talk about that when we come back here on Benchwarmers.
Benchwarmers on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics.
Welcome back with U.S. Senator John Thune, talking some sports and a bill going through Congress, co-sponsored by John Thune, called the PHIT Act, P-H-I-T, the Personal Health Investment Today Act. In a nutshell, it would allow people to use health spending accounts, flexible spending accounts, to take tax advantages, to use those expenses as medical expenses, and you take tax advantage. And you talked a little bit about what's included in this, but hit on that one more time, where sports, kids' sports leagues, things like that would be included in this.
It would, yeah. I mean, there are things that aren't included, like if you decide to join Minnehaha Country Club, not covered, or buying tickets to Vikings games. But if it's something that improves you or your family's health, and particularly for young people that want to join a sport or join a league, but it's expensive because of the fees or the equipment associated with that. We want to encourage young people to become healthier earlier in life, to be active, because obviously that leads to good habits later in life, and that helps lower health care costs overall over the long term. So things like that, if parents want to, for their kids or for themselves, if you want to buy a piece of equipment, you want to join a gym, you can use these tax-free dollars, which a lot of people create these health savings accounts or flexible spending accounts for incidentals, their health care costs that perhaps aren't covered by their health care plan. You can use those types of funds and resources to improve your fitness. And of course the theory is long term that if you can avoid chronic illnesses like heart disease, diabetes, obesity, things like that, staying fit, staying healthy helps contribute to that. And so we think it's a really sound, common sense idea, and giving people tax benefit or tax incentive to invest in their own fitness is something that has long-term benefits as well.
And nothing is a sure thing in Congress, but you do have, this isn't a nonpartisan, it shouldn't be for something like this, but has it been passed in the House? Was it passed in the House last year?
Last session of Congress. Okay. So yes, and so I hope we can get it attached to something this year. We introduced it first in 2015, and so that session of Congress, and we just reintroduced it in this current session of Congress. We have a number of co-sponsors, both Democrats and Republicans. It's a bipartisan issue. It really should be. I mean, health and fitness and the contribution that makes to lowering health care costs over a long term is something I think all of us ought to care about.
The idea is prevention now saves money on medical expenses.
Intervention and emergency room and operating room costs later. Yeah.
All right. And when you started to get into this and started to introduce it, you had some professional athletes, I think, that worked with you to get this thing going. Who were some of these?
Right. Well, so we had from all the different sports, a lot of them retired, but Carl Lewis, for example. Herschel Walker, who I've become buddies with, he comes in every year. We usually have lunch together, and guy's still incredibly fit at his age in life, and still competing in a lot of different sports. Steve Garvey from baseball. I'm trying to think of who else we've had over, but
Alexander Ovechkin.
Alex Ovechkin came in my office and was sitting in my office, and actually was sitting there. Broke the armchair on my chair. This guy's like in really good shape. But people like that, who I think, again, they're athletes obviously who have stature and can help make the argument that we need to make about how important this is.
All right, and it could be passed this year. Is that?
I hope so.
Where is it at right now?
Well, it is. I mean, of course it's been filed, awaiting action. But if we could get it to hitch a ride on some other piece of legislation that's moving through Congress this year, it would be great. And that's what we're going to try and do.
And you can go out and find the bill. It's very short. It's easy to read.
It is straightforward. It's 3-4 pages long. Yeah.
And people can contact your office. We always hear about contact your senators and things like that. How much of that gets filtered down before it gets to you, or if somebody calls your office, how much impact does that have?
It really matters. I mean, and nowadays people can use email, they can call on the phone, they can still use the snail mail, although it takes longer to get there. But there are lots of ways that people can get in touch with us, and even social media platforms. But so if people want to get in touch, it does matter, and we pay attention to that. I mean, one of the things we check on a regular basis is, what are the calls on, and what's if we have a particular issue, we'll say how many are calling on this side, how many are calling on this side, and we track that stuff. So yeah, it does matter.
All right, the PHIT Act, PHIT. You can go out and find it and look it up and see what you think about that. We're going to spend a few more minutes here with U.S. Senator John Thune, talk about some college basketball days. You might not know this about the senator, but some connections to Huron College back in the day. Talk about that when we come back. Welcome back with U.S. Senator John Thune, and no secret, you are a lifetime basketball freak. Is
junkie?
That fair to say?
Yeah.
Junkie? Not freak?
Freak's good.
Freak's all right? All right, back in the day in South Dakota, Terry Dupris, and you might have to be 50, late 40s, maybe our age to understand some of these references, but Terry Dupris is one of the all-time great high school and college basketball players in South Dakota. You didn't play against him when he was at Cheyenne Eagle Butte and you were at Jones County, but you played with Terry at some point.
Played a lot with Terry, both with and against, in a lot of tournaments, amateur ball later in life. But yeah, he was. You talk about just a great talent, and I'll tell you what, if you got open, he'd find you.
Yeah.
But he could do it all. He was an All-American guard, as you pointed out, at Huron, and then had a tryout in the NBA, I think with the Pistons. But just a really, really gifted athlete, and played on some great teams. I mean, they went to the Final Four down in Kansas City when he was playing at Huron.
He goes to Huron College. You go to Biola University in California and played some hoops there. You said you had some injuries, but played for a couple of years. And this is where it all comes circle, because I'm a high school kid in Huron, listening to Terry Dupris on the radio in the national tournament playing for Huron, and they're playing Biola, and I had no idea that you were there at the time. That was just kind of fascinating.
It was a small world,
What were your playing days in college?
Well, I wish I'd done more with it. I mean, I was probably disappointed. I did, like I said, I had a couple knee surgeries in college, but didn't do as much for the game as I should have. It's one of those things, kind of those regrets in life.
Yeah.
But a couple of years, I did go. Our team went to Kansas City. I was a freshman. I made the team as a freshman out there at Biola, and Huron was there that year, and they made the Final Four that year. And of course, Bruce Carrier was coaching and always entertaining on the sidelines. But in my heart, and we didn't play him that year. I think they played him a couple of years later.
Yep.
But you're always cheering for those teams, because you always got that South Dakota, and they showed well down there, and we always did exceptionally well. But you had so many great players from that era playing on those Huron College teams, and Tim Burgard from Aberdeen, who I played a lot of amateur ball with, and then of course watching, as I said, Coach Carrier lead that team. It always made for great basketball and also a fun atmosphere at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Very interesting.
You were there, yeah.
State of college basketball in South Dakota right now. I know you pay lots of attention when you're out in D.C., but South Dakota State and South Dakota and Northern State and Augustana in these past couple of years, the college basketball is fabulous in South Dakota.
Yeah, it's really exploded, and the Division I era, both for men's and women's, has been great, and it's offered so many opportunities, obviously, for athletes. But boy, what for fans? It's just an absolute. If you're a fan, this is as good as it gets. It's kind of a chance to see that level of basketball being played right here in our backyard. See some terrific athletes come through these programs, some great coaches, and some coaching changes this year at State and Northern and a few other places. But we've had really good quality people coming in here, and I think it's only going to get better, because the word is out. This is a great place. If you want to play, and if you want to have a great fan base that comes out and supports you and follows you, and you want to play for really high quality coaches, South Dakota is a great place to do it.
All right. Great to have you here. What's going on? You're busy for the rest of the summer. Are you running a 5K? Are you doing anything like that?
Well, I'm out and about. You can see me running on the trails down here. I don't know if I'm going to run any races, but probably be out on the bike a little bit and out on the water a little bit, and obviously staying busy out here too, doing a lot of events across the state over the course of the summer. But I love this time of the year in South Dakota. I mean, you just can't beat it, and you got to make the most of it. It was a long winter. We were ready for summer when it finally got here, but I think that we're very blessed in South Dakota to have access to the types of things that we do, beautiful places and opportunities to recreate and enjoy and work out.
Absolutely. Appreciate the
Yeah,
time.
good to be with you. Thanks, Tom.
Great to see you. All right. When we come back on Benchwarmers, going to be joined by Ryan Powell, the communications director for the Summit League. Talk about University of Missouri Kansas City coming back into the league and how a guy from Grand Forks ends up being the biggest Auburn fan you will ever see. Ryan Powell when we come back. Welcome back to Benchwarmers, joined now by Summit League Master of Communications, Ryan Powell. And you got an anniversary coming up here pretty quick of 1 year in the Summit League.
1 year, August 1st is when we made the move, and I spent my first day in that. We were moving furniture, and Brian Miller won't appreciate this, but a shelf fell on my face that day, so that was a good memory from a year ago. But
all right.
No broken bones, so that was good.
Coming down after 10 years at the University of North Dakota. Let's talk about this though first.
Okay.
When you have news like UMKC is coming back to the Summit League. And
right.
It's big news this summer. How in your position though, in the world of social media, nothing is a secret. It's hard to hang on to those things and get them out at the right time, isn't it?
In communications world, you want to control the message. That's the key.
Yeah.
But now, and like you said, the way the world is with social media, that became, let's look at Monday, Tuesday is making an announcement to the UMKC General Counsel was like, we want to get this out there because you can't keep secrets anymore. Like it would have got out over the weekend or somehow. So it evolved from let's take our time and kind of do it the right way to, okay, you have to have a release. I think I sent the release out at 9 p.m. that night via email, and obviously it had hit maybe around 8 o'clock, 7:30 with social media and stuff. So it's hard, and I think you just have to adapt and do it that way.
Yeah,
so.
to control the message is
Right.
it's getting harder and harder.
No
But
doubt.
beautiful thing to have UMKC coming back in to the Summit League after being away for a while. But you yourself, almost 10 years at the University of North Dakota.
Right.
And talk about hockey up there is so dominant. But it's a beautiful thing because University of North Dakota men's hockey has really put North Dakota and the whole region in this country on the national map, hasn't it?
It did, and I think when you're in a spot in Grand Forks like that, it's key to have kind of the home run, the king of a sport across the landscape of collegiate athletics, and for UND it is men's ice hockey, and they obviously did a great job and won a national championship a couple years ago and have sustained that throughout the years. And have you been to the Ralph for a game?
Yeah.
Like it's amazing. And I worked with football and men's basketball was up there, but when you're in Grand Forks, a town of 60,000, like you're going to be in that building on a Friday night or Saturday night. People come from all over, so it's quite the experience. And I think you want to have that main kind of cash flow, cash cow, and it helps the footballs, it helps the men's basketball, it helps the volleyballs and women's basketball, things like that. And I think you're starting to see as UND has transitioned and is growing in their Division I era that those sports are being helped out more and they're catching up more to. And now that they're in the Summit League and things are getting back to rivalries and things like that. So it's been a good process.
All right, UND is going to go into its second season in the Summit League coming up this fall. After 6 years in the Big Sky Conference, and this is California, this is Montana, this is all out west, but I think you and a lot of guys in the media and maybe a lot of the players and the coaches liked being in that Western Conference, being out there. It was a good thing in a way.
It was good to have a home, a Division I home, and to be able to go to a Sacramento, to go to a Flagstaff, to go to a Portland. Like those are fun trips. They got to be long, and student athletes, like it's tough being out of the classroom as long as they were. And I traveled with men's basketball and football. So football, you're flying on a Friday, playing on Saturday, flying right back. Basketball, sometimes we leave on a Tuesday for a 2-game road trip out in the Big Sky, come back on Sunday. So they got long, but they were still like pretty scenic places. And you're wearing a parka when you get on the plane, and you can be wearing shorts when you get off the plane in
Yeah.
Sacramento. So that was pretty cool.
All right, UND back in the Summit, though. Football joins the Missouri Valley, not this year, but coming up in 2020. When we come back, we know you as the UND guy, but why Ryan Powell is probably the only and the biggest Auburn sports fan we have in the Dakotas. More on that next.
Benchwarmers on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics.
Back with Ryan Powell from the Summit League, and we know you, of course, from as being the UND guy before you got to the Summit League, but you are from where?
Huntsville, Alabama.
Huntsville, Alabama. Went to college where?
Auburn University.
Degree from Auburn, the only Auburn fan that I know of, and it was such a great year for Auburn. Football was okay.
Right.
Baseball got to the College World Series, and then men's basketball goes all the way to the Final Four this year.
I just got chills thinking about it because being an Auburn grad in the Midwest, having the Final Four in Minneapolis,
Yeah.
the Sweet 16 games were in Kansas City. I went down there as a fan just to watch and catch up with some buddies from school. And then the baseball team made it to Omaha for the first time in over 20 years. So being in the Midwest and being an Auburn alum, it was awesome.
In the tournament, beat Kansas, beat Kentucky, and beat North Carolina
The Blue Bloods,
on the
yeah.
way to the Final Four, which was amazing. So, yeah, do you know any other Auburn fans in the Dakotas?
I've seen a few stickers on
That's
cars and driving by, and like the War Eagle is what you say to people when they're wearing Auburn gear or whatever. So every once in a while you'll see an Auburn hat or an Auburn shirt around town, but not a lot. So
And beat Alabama is all that matters in
it's
football. Anyway?
Yeah, football. The kick six game was unbelievable. I have a great story about that. I probably don't have time to share it now, but it was a lot of fun. I was on a basketball trip in Oregon watching it, but yeah, it was incredible.
All right, appreciate it, buddy. Your golf
Yep.
game's in great shape, I hear. Really good.
Some days you saw the best shot of my life, I think.
All right, our thanks to Ryan Powell. Thanks to U.S. Senator John Thune this week. We will see you next week on Benchwarmers.